Hi there, this is Chris from PC Gamer, and welcome to No Trace, a Dishonored diary series where I'm trying to make all of the game's missions look like terrible accidents. Now, full disclosure, I have a terrible cold, so if it sounds like I've fallen down a well, that's why. I hope the sound's okay, and you enjoy the episode anyway. Please send best regards, and if they find that I've got the plague, please prevent them from throwing me in a ditch somewhere, because that would be a crying shame, and would impede the progress of this series more than my ability to meet deadlines already has. Anyway, welcome to the, I guess, fourth proper mission, which is Kaldwin's Bridge, to kidnap the royal physician SOKOLOV. Now, as a kidnapping, this means that unlike previous episodes of No Trace, which have all been about setting up accidents and fatal mishaps and crime scenes and things like that, this is going to be more about trying to find a way of getting SOKOLOV out of his home without raising alarm, necessarily. Again, without giving any sort of sense of Corvo's direct involvement. Now, Samuel the boatman has just explained my other objective, which is to switch the lights off on the bridge, and I've got to do that in much really the same way. But a greater part of this mission is going to be spent simply getting past quite a linear series of stealth challenges. As it's a bridge and the kind of areas around it, it's a little bit more focused on solving each area and each sort of set of guards in turn. But, you know, I've played a lot of this game by now, and I kind of know a few routes up and around guards, including ones where I occasionally almost completely cock up. Like now, where only desperately tapping the spacebar prevents me from sliding on my arse directly in front of all those guards, which would be a huge shame. I'm now going to demonstrate Corvo's mastery of teleporting directly into a bin, and then staring out of a bin, like Oscar the Grouch. Oscar the stealthy, murderous Grouch. But anyway, that's a first area easily bypassed. This area I'm going to do slightly differently. I don't need to eat all the tuna. Nor do I especially need to steal all that ore. I kind of revised my opinion on nicking everything that isn't nailed down, which I'm going to say every single time now, simply out of solidarity with myself. Because, honestly, I don't know who would miss a big chunk of ore from someone's locker. But the fact that someone went to the effort of keeping ore in their locker makes me kind of want to respect that and leave it there, so there it stays. Now, in this section, it's actually possible to activate this cart thing and ride across the entire section without too much fuss. But I'm going to avoid doing that because, as far as I know, carts don't start themselves. But I did decide at this point, and for reasons I'm not entirely sure why, to try and stage a terrible whale oil canister falling off a shelf and exploding incident. But it does have useful side benefits, including teaching me exactly how high I can't jump. But anyway, now this is the whale oil you would need to get to activate the cart if you were doing that. But if you're not doing that, it's simply a good exercise in what you should never ever do while holding something explosive, which is fall 12 feet. But anyway, moving on. Thought about using the cart, didn't. Pop down the stairs. I've now got the key for the warehouse, incidentally, so I can come out through this door. I'm going to leave that there. And out we go. Now again, like most areas in Dishonored, this particular segment is heavily patrolled but can be bypassed by perching on a series of lampposts. First up, this one on the right, and then across to the next one. Now the idea here was to kind of establish a precedent for whale oil being volatile, which will serve me well later on. People already know this. They know that if you drop it, it explodes. You have to treat it really carefully. So it's almost certainly not unheard of that whale oil will occasionally just, you know, slip and blow up. Maybe tumble off a shelf and cause a distracting explosion somewhere else. Distraction explosion, in this case, provided by Mr. Crossbow. And every single guard in the area huffs it to see what the noise was, allowing me to kind of quickly nip over here to grab a rune from an upstairs room. Now, I'm actually not going to spend any runes in this playthrough. I'm using exactly the same powers I had in the previous video, because I'm saving up for a pretty expensive power, which is full time stop, a level 2 of bend time. So I feel like that's going to give me some freedom to do some more exciting, more creative things in future missions, especially the very next one, actually. So I hope you look forward to that. There's also a bone charm on the other side of this reservoir that I considered going for a bit, but ultimately it seemed like more effort than it's worth, and trying not to cock this up is 90% of not cocking it up. The rest is luck. Dishonored has very satisfying climbing. It's something that's not often drawn attention to. But I could just climb up and down those chains all day. I won't, but I could. I start using dark vision a little bit more as well. I don't really tend to like these mechanics in games. I prefer it when you have to kind of rely on your wits to not know where guards are and where they're looking, rather than kind of magic, see people through walls of vision, because it feels like getting a little bit too close to the design itself. But I think in this case it's useful, again, to avoid it all going horribly wrong. Let's make our way swiftly and efficiently out of the area. I was actually pretty concerned at this point that someone was looking, but turns out they wasn't, so that's fine. Again, considering going to the waterlock, but nah. Straight through to Drawbridge Way. Now there's another rune in this aristocrat's house, so the game is to try and get to it before he can. He's here telling this guard about basically what an asshole he is, which I think the purpose of that conversation is to make you feel less bad if you choose to stab him in the neck, chuck him in the river. But I would rather not for that reason. I'm trying to keep casualties to a minimum simply to avoid raising more suspicion than I already have. I think a certain amount of fatality in an area is probably to be expected in a time like this, but too much is probably pretty suspicious.
Keeps this place running, at least for now.
Yes. If by exotic you mean foul-smelling as a witch's butt.
And I've snuck cleanly into his house, which is great, because I need to solve the puzzle involving these pictures. Now, I've done this a few times before, and in this case it was pretty much just a case of figuring out exactly what order they go in, but there are numbers on each of these paintings that you need to kind of remember. That one had 3 on it. Don't know if you saw it before I looked away. And up here there is the next painting, which has on the bow of the ship a 7. And here's the clue itself, which sort of establishes what order those numbers go in. But I'm actually missing 1, and I'd completely forgotten what the other number was. So time to go exploring the house, looking for it, before I can open the safe. There's also a guy in the next building that we'll deal with shortly. Unfortunately, he's now coming up the stairs. So, this isn't an environment where I can safely have a man eaten by rats. I'm trying to learn my lesson about solving every problem with rats.
Can't say they didn't have a
so,
filth.
I would rather get through this without raising any kind of alarm at all. Also, I'm going to try and learn another lesson about closing safe doors, which, if you followed this entire series, you will know is a popular bone of contention with me. There's the giant 4, so that's what we need. The code is, I think, 437 or 473. And we'll go enter that and hopefully get away clean. And this guy will hopefully just assume that if you start nicking the outsiders' runes, they start vanishing. I don't see that as being particularly inexplicable. There is a flying wizard man that gives people magic powers in this world, after all. And rune, God. I'm not going to take the gold, partly to try and reinforce that sense that the rune was what he was there for, or that it kind of vanished by itself or something. And I did close the door as well, but now I have to get out quickly before he turns around. Thank God he's admiring his own paintings. I've never actually done that. I've bought pictures and stuff, but you find once you've actually bought them, you hardly ever look at them. So, you know, kudos to him for actually maintaining an art collection he cares about. Anyway, onto the roof and into the next place. Now, there's another rune in the next building, along with an outsider shrine, which should be fun. But I do need to deal with this crazed outsider cultist dude who is ranting and raving on his balcony. Now, originally I was going to go straight past him, and then I thought maybe I could do something a little bit more interesting, or at least funny. So let's just have a quick scout of the situation. As long as I can get across this gap here, it should be fine. And then behind him is ideally where I want to be. So he's currently facing the shrine, moving back towards the balcony. That's okay. I could get past him at this point, and I think I did actually think about it, but there are more entertaining things to do with a man alone in his room ranting off the balcony. So I'll head back down and teach him justice at the face of Corvo's ability to... This is my favourite power in the game, actually. None of these, just simply the Corvo kick. What a terrible accident that you've fallen off your balcony and landed on your head. I like the idea that that man's final moments in this life were spent wondering why a ninja was doing what basically amounts to a football celebration aggressively towards him. Anyway. Let's talk to a goth. Hello.
Rivers change course over many lifetimes.
Yep.
And eventually all bridges tumble down.
I actually disagree with that. A well-constructed bridge... Oh, never mind.
There was another city on this spot. The people carved the bones of whales into runes and inscribed them with my mark.
That sounds like a
Children
fun place.
still find them washed up in the river mud. Anton Sokolov has made a great study of my runes, but he's not special like you are.
I am very special.
He wasn't chosen, and he doesn't wear my mark, so he
To be honest,
can't unlock their secrets.
It wasn't really my choice to get this tattoo.
Sokolov believes there are specific words and acts that can compel me to appear before him.
To be honest, there totally are.
He
Like picking up
searches old
runes.
temples in Pendicia and ruined sub-basements in the flooded district. He performs disgusting rituals beneath the old abbey.
Gross.
But if he really wants to meet me, he could start by being a bit more interesting.
What a credibly passive-aggressive flying wizard guy. He's kind of like the cool kid of wizards. Like, you're not allowed to hang out with him unless he thinks you're cool. What an ass. Anyway. So that's the bridge itself. And now we've got to try and get past some pretty heavy security, actually. Which is going to involve a bit of creative jumping. And more than a little bit of, again, pretty much blind luck. Now that's a pylon, which will fry me if I get too close. But it doesn't fry people who have been attuned to it, like this guard. So yes, you throw yourself off a building and you leap directly into a man's brain. And wander seamlessly away. It's quite an elegant solution. This guard has just decided to wander off and... if you heard, he was having a conversation about the pylons. Maybe fiddle with the other pylon. I think the amount of things you can do with possessed targets is kind of underestimated in this game, actually. They can do almost everything you can do except run, jump, melee, and magic powers, obviously. But they can still use some of your equipment. In this case, hopefully everyone just saw this guy fiddle with the pylon. And then tragically get himself fried. Oops. What a terrible accident, etc, etc, etc. That's, two guards with one guard, so to speak. And after this, it's actually quite a straightforward stealth run, just to climb the tower and kind of bypass the big exposed area between the two towers. Yay, a chain. I love chains. Swing it around, making a satisfying crunchy chainy sound. Not chainy sound, it's the wrong thing. And safely ignore that guy, as long as you don't make too much noise. And forget exactly how to climb again. Despite having played this game dozens of times, I still forget aspects of the environment, like exactly where I'm going or what I'm doing. And that's kind of brought into stark relief when you're making a video series, I think. Anyway, get to climb another fun chain, although the novelty is now wearing off. Crunch, 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 crunch. Chain, 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 chain. Chain, 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 jump. Alright, I'm not going to spend the rest of this video just narrating the things I'm doing, but seriously, you try and describe climbing a chain 3 times. And now you get to run across the top of the bridge like Spider-Man. Yay! And to the other side. Now this is where the power for the bridge lights, which we need to disable, is. And as you come down the chain, you might not be able to hear it because of the audio mix, but there's a guard on the bottom level talking about how he kind of fancies going up to check on the power because he likes climbing. Because there's nothing to do, you just may have just heard him say it. It's actually that guy, there's a guy further to the left as you're looking now. So in order to establish how these lights might switch off, I want to establish a cock-up with that guy at the core. Now, in the game, he will actually walk up the stairs, but he won't actually climb, because the guards don't do that. But I presume if he was going to climb, then he'd be coming through this grating here. So I want to kind of establish a narrative where he did climb up, he went to have a look, and then something terrible happened. So you have to wait for this guy to turn around and go away. This is the kind of the upstairs guard, and wait for the guy I'm now looking at to come up in his place.
It's just ridiculous. Stupid rats. Plague. Elixir. Bunch of crap.
Not a happy man. He does think a bunch of things are a bunch of crap. Anyway. Let's have fun with possession. Or in this case, have fun with the exact angles at which you're allowed to possess someone. Like not here, not here, not here, but probably here. Good, right, so this is the guard we wanted to grab. I'm going to steer him back towards that open grill to kind of establish that he did go up here and he did enter this room by himself. Now, choke him out. Accidentally drop him, because that's becoming my new thing. Then quickly up and out, and this allows us to get him all the way up to the power room as if he had climbed there himself, which is what we want. You'll notice that this is the second time in No Trace that I've staged a cock-up involving an explosion, but I think this is probably the most plausible. You could imagine him coming up here to change or check the whale oil canisters and dropping one of them. Much has happened earlier. Now, I want this to just sort of happen and give me space to get away so I don't get hurt. So the plan here is to use one of the grenades I'll never otherwise use, drop it and duck out the window. However, you notice that I've forgotten to crouch, which is going to cause a little bit of amusing panic as I desperately try and claw out the window and then realise the explosion wasn't even that big anyway. But it has worked. That's a pretty convincing cock-up that has disabled the lights, and we're out. And you notice interestingly, and I think this is because I used the grenades, it's put more of the guards in alert than I think would normally be alerted by an explosion of that size. So as I slide down this cable like skateboarder, you notice that the rest of the guards have also been distracted and moved away, which is really handy because it allows me to quickly get through this area as well. Although I do at this point fall afoul of a accidentally open trapdoor. I'm just going to go on top of here. Oh wait, no I'm not. Oops. Smooth again. 90% complete skill. And we can get to the next area without too much fuss, as long as we don't get seen. That guy's looking almost directly at me, but never mind. He's too far away. This is a pretty short area, actually, with a light gate and a bunch of guards. But again, pretty straightforward to get past as long as you don't make any obvious mistakes. Although you are about to witness a man looking directly at me in complete illumination without seeing me, which counts as no trace, because traces are in the eye of the inept guard looking at you. In this case, oh, that guy's seeing me. Oh god, that guy's looking directly at me and basically just waved. I'm gonna hide. Good, got away with that. And now a bit of risky blinking because I don't have upgraded blink. Risky blinking is actually an amazing phrase that I wish I'd get more use out of, but I can't think of another use for it. I think risky blinking could be my rap name. No, that's ridiculous. Anyway, let's wait for this guy to finish having a good old lean. bit of a lean, and then go back to whatever it is his job is, so I can get past. Now we just have to wait for a guard to get by so we can pull the same trick again. Bit of an old possession and hunt to get me through the wall of light without having to disable it or draw any alarm or leave a trace,
Should we gather for whiskey
so to speak.
and cigars tonight? Never doubt.
It doesn't occur to me that never doubt it is an acceptable response to the question, shall we gather for whiskey and cigars? Because sometimes you might want to doubt it. I, as you can tell, have a terrible cold, and if someone said, would you like whiskey and cigars, I'd probably say no, actually. Whiskey might be fine, it's a decongestant, but cigars would probably be terrible for my respiratory system. Anyway, they probably weren't thinking about that, so that's fine. And here we are in the final area of the map, Northside Broadway. I mean Bridgeway, not Broadway. That would be an entirely different game. Probably a musical version of Dishonored that I now desperately want to play. So, good work. I've distracted myself. Anyway, freeing Solokov's, I guess, slaves or test subjects. Well, it's not impossible without raising an alarm, but it's kind of irrelevant to our needs, and this playthrough is very much about keeping Corvo's profile as low as possible with the odd kind of rampage or massive explosion or stare montage. So I'm going to take the quick route directly into Solokov's chambers, where I hope I have enough Piero's remedy for what I've got planned, because I think a disappearance is suspicious, which is why I'm not using shadow kill or any of the kind of things that allow you to remove bodies. I want people to think they saw what happened, and for them to believe their eyes rather than have something to investigate, you know. The perfect crime, you don't need to investigate because there doesn't appear to have been one. So, my plan for Mr. Anton Sokolov is to have him kidnap himself. I want every single guard in this place to see him stroll for whatever reason out of his building, and due to a side effect of possession, I suspect that explanation is going to be he was rather ill. So here I am taking my first control of Sokolov, as I unfortunately missed a rune there, but decide to go for a walk downstairs. At this point he's probably just feeling a little bit queasy, just needs to get some air, just needs to go. Oh god. Oh, he's held it in that time. Good for him, good for him, good for him. Chug down another elixir and jump back inside his brain. Now he has a lift down to the bottom floor, but it needs refueling, which means that hopefully these guards will now have noticed Sokolov busying himself filling up a tank of whale oil and then spewing all over his laboratory, and then taking the whale oil to the lift, which really should just be a case of, oh, I should probably actually leave it here because I'm about to throw up. Oh god. I feel quite sorry for him, and I have no idea what his perspective of these events is like. Yeah, what happened indeed. So, what happened is, get back in your brain, and all of these guards will see Sokolov just walk straight out of his own building. Now, this is actually my favourite instance of possession vomiting in Dishonored ever, as a disorientated Sokolov paints the entire side of an elevator shaft. Enjoy. Oh god, that's horrible. Whoever comes in to figure out what happened to him after the fact is going to be in no doubt that he was not in the right mind when he wandered out of the building. Beyond this, I'm now completely out of Piero's remedy, or I think I've got one left, so that means my options from this point are pretty limited. This is basically the last possession I'm going to be able to do. Oh god, that guy saw me.
What does the meaning of this?
And we're back. Probably rats, he says, making my employer walk out of his own house, projectile vomiting all the way. But I'm not going to be able to get him to the boat like this. I don't have enough remedy, so I'm going to have to possess him, but hopefully he's been seen moving far enough that there won't be any reasonable doubt that he was kidnapped. hopefully they'll think he gave himself over to the Loyalists himself. Now that was close, but hopefully we can now make our way cleanly down to the boat. And I had this whole plan for how this is a quicker and easier route than going the long way around. But it turns out that without upgraded blink, that isn't going to happen. And you know what happens when unconscious bodies hit water. So that means I've got to head back. And yeah, that's going to mean I'm going to have to go over the rooftops, I think, because there's no quick way, I guess, through the streets, which I haven't, you know, depopulated in any way, so they're still crawling with guards. But I was hoping at this point to just sort of get straight up to the roofs and not really have to worry about it. Unfortunately, get ready for the first serious cock-up of no trace.
What's going on there?
Yep, that man fully saw me, and this is entirely suspicious. And he got there really quickly as well. But it's time to employ the old Corvo kick, and then fall off a roof. Good. Well, that solved that problem. I would like to believe that people will see it's an honest mistake. Figure that guy tumbled to his death, that he wasn't tackled off a roof by an assassin terrified of being caught. A roof even. But you notice there's actually no railing there, which is why I fell off. Which, frankly, is a safety oversight. And I hope, if nothing else, when everything settles down, that man's death could inspire the city to erect better, more thorough railings in its public spaces to avoid a similar tragedy happening again. So yeah, there goes my never detected bonus, but I think I pretty much preserved the integrity of this playthrough. And I've got such a tiny amount of mana left that blinking is actually kind of painful. Just got just enough to manage one blink at a time before it regenerates, but it is enough to get back. And from here it's a pretty clear run to the end. Hope you've enjoyed this. It's kind of an interlude episode in many ways because it's not an assassination, but still we've had men kicked to their deaths and esteemed scientists projectile vomit their entire way down a lift. So, by my own standards, hopefully a success. Thanks for watching. Please rate and subscribe for more videos from PC Gamer.